All right, let's talk about what the biggest lie is. This is the one that all narcissists believe and fall for. Okay, so before I tell you what it is, I'm going to tell you a story. So, when I first went out on my own as a lawyer, I hired a business coach. And this business coach helped me put together goals for myself, and she gave me homework, and the following week I was supposed to have done my homework. And so one of the items of homework she gave me was to write down how much money I wanted the firm to make the following year, or the first year of the firm, and how much money I would actually bring home. So the following week we get back together, and she says to me, "All right, did you do your homework?" And I said, "Yeah." So I pull up my little pad of paper and I said, "Okay, I've run the numbers, I've crunched the numbers, and in order for us to make it, I did all my numbers at home too. Like, these are all of our expenses. And in order for us to make it, this is how much money I need to make. So that's my goal, that much." And she looked at me and she said, "Do you just want to make it? Or would you actually like to make money?" And I was like, "Well, I'd like to make money, but okay." And she's like, "Well, then write down that you're making money." I was like, "Oh, okay." I almost had to give myself permission, or have somebody else give me permission to ask for something more than just the bare minimum or just what I needed. And so what she pointed out to me at that point was that it was a scarcity mentality. I don't know that I had ever really heard that before, but there's this scarcity mentality versus the abundance mentality. And what that means is that you believe that either there's enough to go around always, and there's not a finite amount of things in the universe, and if you don't get in on it, you're going to lose out. That's abundance. Or scarcity is the opposite. There's only so much to go around and there's not enough, and if I don't hurry, then I'm definitely not going to get it. And I can't ask for too much, because then there won't be enough for anybody else to go around. I just want you to understand that this is a huge part of how a narcissist thinks. They believe this to the extreme, and not just with money, but with anything, everything. I once had a person that I had to deal with in my business who was in the business with me and wouldn't even I would find out later that she had tips on certain things, or that she was employing certain strategies or things that would work for her to make her look better. But it would have actually made the entire business better had she passed on the tips to me, so that I would also know them as well. But she couldn't do it, not even to make the business look better. It was just more important that she looked as good as possible. And I think that they don't even really process it. It's not like they think about it. I think it's really, really subconscious. If somebody actually asked, this person to articulate, what's going to happen to you if you share this information? Why would that, would you fall apart? Would you die? Would you wither and, become like the Wicked Witch of the West or whatever, and melt into the floor if that happened to you? I don't think they really think about it, but they definitely, they they're very close to the chest. Don't even give $1. Don't even give one extra cent to a person, that unless you absolutely have to, or unless you're getting something out of the deal, and you better be getting way more out of it than what you're having to give, because you don't want to have to give anything. What I want you to understand, though, is that is a huge lie, because the truth of the matter is that the universe is unbelievably abundant. But the problem is that you get what you think about. Where your energy goes, that's where your focus flows, and that's what you start to see growing in your life. I think of it as flowers. I mean, honestly, like we are all flowers and we can all bloom. And if I bloom, then that's great. And if somebody else blooms, that's great too. And we can have a beautiful garden. But my blooming has nothing to do with the other person's blooming, right? Like those two things don't necessarily have anything to do with each other. And same thing with stars, like, a star in the sky, they just shine, right? They don't worry about what's going on because there's plenty of shining that we can all do. I mean, the real paradox in this whole thing, though, is that the more fearful you are, the less you will have, because the universe responds to you. So the more you're afraid that there's not going to be enough, that's what keeps showing itself to you, is there's not enough, not enough, not enough. Esther Hicks talks about this in her talks, with Abraham Hicks, where she says, if you think to yourself all the time, where your thoughts are, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough money. And then you ask the universe to turn around and give you the opposite of what it is that you're saying all the time, it doesn't even make any sense. I mean, the universe will respond to you. It is energy, like attracts like. It is just a very basic law of physics, quantum mechanics, however you want to look at it. It's science. And so your thoughts are energy, and what you're beaming out into the universe, you're going to get back into your life. If you're jealous of people, if you're sitting around saying, why does that person have this? And how come I don't have that? I mean, I've had people who've worked at my law firms who are like that, why does this person have that? Why, it's like life isn't fair. It's never fair. And if you feel that way, that's going to be your way of being. And it's always going to be that life isn't fair. That's what you're going to keep seeing showing up in your life. And so if you don't like it, you've got to change it. So when you're dealing with narcissists, you got to realize that that's how they think. That thinking, especially if you've been married to a person, will spill over to you, and you'll start thinking that way too. And so you've got to notice that and stop thinking the way that they think. I mean, they are scarcity to the extreme. In their world, there isn't enough love. There isn't enough respect. There isn't enough money. There isn't enough prestige. There isn't enough recognition to go around. There's not enough to go around. So they have to grab it where they can. And, it's a survival technique. It's almost like the kids who are on Easter egg hunts, and they're going and they're running and they're trying to get as many eggs into their basket as they can, or even like, kids who are going after candy that's like been, banged out of a piñata, and it sprays to the floor, but there's only like, so many pieces to go around. So they feel like they have to run in there and grab as much as they can because there's just not enough. So that is why they're so desperate for supply all of the time. And if you want to know more about narcissistic supply, definitely check out my video on that topic. What they don't realize is that there are enough piñatas to go around. There are infinite piñatas in the universe. So for you guys, start asking for what you want. Be specific. Don't ask for food. You don't go into a restaurant and tell the server you want food. You ask very specifically. You say, I want the steak, medium rare, with the vegetables on the side and a salad and no dressing, or, whatever it is. You're very, very specific. And that's the way you have to be when you are asking for what you want as well. And then start feeling the emotions of what it feels like to have that. Whether maybe it's an outcome that you want from the negotiations that you're in. What is that? If you got everything you wanted, what would your life look like? Where are you standing? How do you feel? What are you wearing? What house are you living in? Who are you talking to? Make it as specific as possible, as if it's already happened, and then even feel gratitude for it. Like you can take one more step and say, I am so grateful that it all worked out the way it was supposed to. And I got this, that, and the other thing. I mean, feel yourself in the flow and floating downstream in that flow instead of trying to swim upstream against the current all the time. So if you're with me on this and you're still listening here, give me an I am in flow in the comments right now. I want to know that you are feeling that flow, that you're with me. That just even just for the moment that you're watching this video, you are understanding the laws of physics and the laws of the universe and the law that tells you that the universe is abundant and there is enough and you can get the outcomes that you want and you can have the life that you want. All right. So the biggest lie is that there's not enough. We're like Rumpelstiltskin. You can spin your straw into gold. Remember that old story, that old like fairy tale or whatever? Great book. If you're looking for a good book, is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Fantastic. It's a short read. You can read it in a few hours, on a Saturday afternoon or something. It's like a fable, but it's really, really good. But it helps you to understand that you create your universe, you create your reality, and you have the control to do that. So I'm so excited to see what you guys come up with and what you are able to manifest in your life. Today, we're going to be talking about that one question that traps a narcissist in their own lies. So what's that one question that makes them squirm and completely exposes them? And that question is, can you repeat that? That's it. It sounds simple, right? But let's break it down as to why this question is so devastating for a narcissist. And I've seen it in all different types of scenarios. I'm going to not only break it down, but explain to you how to use it the right way. So why can you repeat that? And why does that completely destroy a narcissist's lies? So narcissists don't lie like normal people. They don't just make up one story and stick to it. They are constantly gaslighting and twisting the truth to fit the moment. That's why a lot of times as lawyers, we take depositions or we have them create a situation where they have a sworn statement. Maybe it's a financial affidavit, maybe it's a request for admission or something like that, because you want them to stick to a statement. But even if it's a text message here or it's an email there, they're always going to say one thing here and another thing over there because they twist the truth to fit the moment. They contradict themselves without even realizing it. They can say one thing in 5 minutes and then 5 minutes later say completely something else. They gaslight you so that you start questioning your own memory. And then they'll even say, because I had to do that, I'm not sticking to this because blah, blah, blah. I mean, they have their reason for it in that moment. But here's the problem. Lies are hard to remember. So when you ask them to repeat what they just said, you force them into a trap because now they have to recall what they made up, some story that they never planned to keep consistent in the first place. So comment below, have you ever caught a narcissist contradicting themselves? And what did they do? Let's share these experiences, all right? It just say total liars in the comments. I would just put total liars in the comments. What happens when you ask a narcissist to repeat themselves? So they're either going to stall for time. What do you mean? They change the subject. What does it matter? They accuse you of being difficult. Oh, now you're interrogating me. Oh, why are you bringing that up now? You're interrupting me. You're too loud. They change the subject. Or if they try to repeat themselves, they change the details. They try to prove that you're lying. They get extremely defensive. They start talking about something else. They actually start accusing you of things. Well, let's talk about your past. Let's talk about the things that you've done. They get louder. They start smearing you. It becomes like all about all sorts of noise on the other end of things. The best thing about asking them this question, though, is that it sets them up for inconsistency. It sets them up for this pattern of being able to show well, hey, they said this on one time, they said this on another time, and being able to show their pattern of lying. And that way you'll be able to demonstrate how they're liars, how they don't keep their word, how they are not people of truth in whatever scenario it is that you want to demonstrate. Because here, let me tell you something. Whatever situation you are in, being a person of integrity is going to be relevant. Whether it's a job situation, whether it's a court situation, or whatever situation it is, people don't like liars. Judges certainly hate liars. Bosses certainly don't like liars. So if you can demonstrate that the person that you're dealing with is not a person of integrity, then it's certainly going to be relevant. Narcissists have a confession to make, and that is that they are way more afraid of you than you are of them, especially in court cases, mediation cases, or any kind of cases where you have to negotiate with them. But you know what? I have a confession to make too. I'm sick and tired of these people bullying you and making you feel exhausted and paying way too much in attorney's fees and dragging you through the mud. My name is Rebecca Zung, and I'm an attorney. I've been recognized by U.S. News as one of the best lawyers in America. And in fact, I was so sick and tired of these people bullying you that I started studying narcissism so that I could beat them in the courtroom. And now I'm here to make the case so that you can win too. I developed a 4-part proven blueprint that has helped tens of thousands of people take back their freedom, win, and get back their power. And now I'm sharing it with you in a special live event, Outsmart the Narcissist, the 4-part proven plan to take back your power. 4 simple steps, 1 free live event, 1 free hour of your life. That's what stands between you being in hell and you being free. Join me, click the link for Outsmart the Narcissist, the 4-step proven plan to take back your power. Just click the link and let's go. You definitely want to be able to demonstrate that this person is not a person of their word. So if you want to trap them in their lies, just ask them to repeat themselves. Ask them to repeat themselves in writing for sure, because that's going to be the best place that you can trap them. Can you repeat that? What did you say about that? What did you say about when you were going to pick the kids up at the bus stop again? Could you repeat that for me again? Well, what did you say about when you were going to be paying me that money? What did you say about that? Ask them to repeat things again, because if they always change the details. Could you give me the details again about what you promised this? Ask them to repeat those details. I mean, you can always use this when the question is going to serve you. All right. So you don't say, can you repeat that specifically? You can use specifics. So like in arguments, in legal situations, if they're lying in text messages, just to clarify, can you confirm exactly what you said about X or about Y? Just give me the details again about this. If they told you something about that, what they contradicted, about something else, can you just repeat exactly how you explained this the last time? I'm just, not completely clear about the details on something. You just act like you're just, like you don't know. Like, I'm just really kind of fuzzy on the details on that. Act like you're the one who's not completely clear. I know I'm the one who doesn't really know. Just help me understand. Help me understand a little bit more. They'll hate that because they're trapped now in their own stories once they figure out. But you act like you're the innocent one when you're trying to get them to repeat the details. What happens when that narcissist understands that or realizes that you're onto them? When they realize that you're now starting to establish this pattern, it is going to send them into a panic, and they're going to switch tactics. They're going to deflect and blame it on you. Oh, now you're accusing me. What are you writing stuff down? They're going to play the victim. Oh, what do you have to do? You keep your little diary, and they're going to like make fun of you or whatever. Who cares? You continue to write stuff down. You continue to take your little journal. You put it in your phone. You do whatever you need to do. They may get aggressive, oh, you're ridiculous. Oh, I don't have time for this. They're going to play the victim. I can't believe you don't trust me. Don't fall prey to that. You do what you need to do to take care of yourself. But here's what you can do. Stay calm, stay quiet, and you just let them destroy themselves, all right? You let them be contradictory. And you just document. The more they talk, the more they do their thing, the more they expose themselves. All right. Those become your gifts. It can be frustrating as can be. Of course, it can be frustrating, but you just keep track. To recap, the number one question that traps a narcissist is some version of can you repeat that? It forces them to recall their own lie. They're going to contradict themselves. They're going to stall. They're going to get defensive. They use it in arguments, texts, legal matters, gaslighting situations. You stay calm. You let them have their tantrum, have their breakdown, panic, whatever they're going to do. Let them expose themselves. It's fine. You don't have to worry about what they're doing. You can just watch it as if you're watching the news or whatever. You respond, don't react. You observe, don't absorb their lies, and just watch them crumble under their own deception. It doesn't have anything to do with you other than that you get to document, write it down, and establish a pattern and expose them. So why am I talking about quantum law and karma and all of these things when I am a lawyer? I'm going to tell you why right now. Because mindset is 50% of winning a negotiation. And intention is a huge part of that. 80% of a negotiation is won before you even walk into the room. Because it comes to your planning and preparation, yes, of course. But it is a huge part of it is your mindset. It is one of the most important parts of it. And mindset also has to do with your thoughts. And your thoughts are energy. And what quantum law says is that whatever energy you're putting out there, that's the energy that you're going to get. Like attracts like. It's just physics. Okay? And so when you are like forming a thought in your mind and you're placing that thought out into the world, you are basically placing an order to the universe. And you're saying to the universe, this is what I want to have happen. This is how I want it to go. So if you say things to the universe like, I'm never going to get that, he or she always gets their way, I can never win, I'm not even going to try to get this particular thing because it's never going to happen. The universe goes, okay, because whatever your little beams of thought are, that energy that you place out into the world, that's what comes back to you. Your thoughts are literally just protons, neutrons, and electrons and ions, all just floating around in your brain. That's all they are. You can't feel them, you can't touch them. As fast as they come into your brain, they can go back out of your brain. Let's just try an experiment right now. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think about a white picket fence. Just hold that in your mind. Now let it go. Is it still there? No, it's not. It's gone. And it's the same thing with your thoughts. The only thing is when you start to have beliefs, that just means that it's a thought that you've thought over and over and over again. And now it's become a belief. And now you just believe that it's true. But it's only because you've been thinking it so many times that it becomes like true to you, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily true. If you want to know more about power thinking when it comes to narcissists, make sure to check out my video called Power Thinking when it comes to narcissists, because making sure you have a powerful mind is going to be so, so important. So what happens when you're
when you're harnessing the power of quantum law, is you're basically lining up the power of the universe to say, this is how I want it to go. It's almost like you're setting your GPS. And you know, if you're driving from Los Angeles to San Diego and you don't know how to get there, you're going to put a thing in your GPS and you're just going to assume that you're going to drive there. At no point do you go, well, maybe I'm going to get there. Maybe it's going to happen. Maybe not. You know, maybe I'll end up in, you know, Oregon or something like that. You don't think that, right? But that's what we do with our thoughts. We go, okay, well, I think I'd like this to happen, but maybe it won't. Maybe I'll end up over here. Maybe I'll end up over there. You can't do that when you are harnessing the power of quantum law, because, you know, the universe of physics is such that it will respond to exactly what you put out there. Like attracts like. That is a physics law. And so your thoughts are going to beam out into the energy, and whatever it is that you put out there is going to come back to you. So the first step in actually beating that narcissist is believing that you can. And not only believing it, but knowing it with every cell of your body that this is how it's going. No matter what, this is the direction that it's going to head. I am going to receive this. I am going to let them know that I am more powerful. They are going to see that they are no longer the more powerful one, that they are no longer the one who's controlling me. I am the one who's in control. I am the one who's in control of my thoughts, my life, my outcomes. And then that's how it ends up going to go. The universe wants to respond to you. It absolutely is at the ready. It's like the soldiers who are just, as soon as you clap, boom, there they are. What would you like? But you have to let them know what it is. Because if you say, I'm never going to win, I shouldn't even bother to try, then that's how it's going to go. And the other thing that's really, really important is that you need to make sure that you are not saying things to the universe that's going to make the universe believe that you're not in control. And by saying things like, I'm a victim, I can never win, or I need a good lawyer, or somebody else has to help me, or I need more money, or all of those kinds of things. You're basically saying to the universe, I don't have it now. I'm not in control. I can't do it. The way things are now, it's not going to happen. And then that's what's going to happen. You've placed that order to the universe. So if you are a winner and you're changing your mindset to be a mindset of a winner, then I want to see I'm a winner in the comments right now. Go ahead, write it. I'm a winner. I want you to start saying that to yourself over and over and over again. That's your mantra. I am a winner. I recently read a book called Untamed by Glennon Doyle, which was really, really great, especially if you're a woman. I don't know, maybe guys would like it too. But it was really a good book. And one of the things that she said was her mantra in that book was, I can do hard things. And, you know, at first I was like, I don't know, I can do hard things. Is that a good mantra? And then I started to like think about it. It was like, okay, now, yeah, if I'm getting ready to do something that maybe feels like a challenge, or maybe I'm afraid of, then, you know, just say to yourself, I can do hard things. And another one that I read one time was a book by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I think the book was Big Love. And we'll make sure we drop links to these books down below if you want to check them out. no obligation, but if you want to check them out, you can. Anyway, in the book Big Love, Elizabeth Gilbert talks about fear. And she talks about how anytime she does something new, she used to say, oh, I have to get rid of fear. I can't have fear come with me no matter what, I've got to figure out a way to like get rid of it. Well, but the truth is that none of us ever completely figure out a way to operate into a new world or a new thing without any fear whatsoever. The courage is doing it in the face of fear, right? Like the cowardly lion in The Wizard of Oz. And so what Elizabeth Gilbert says in that book is that she has learned to go, okay, and like have a conversation with fear and say, all right, fear, we're going on a trip, we're doing this thing, and we're going to get in the car. And, I understand that you're going to have to come along. I would like for you not to come along, but I understand that you're coming along against my wishes. So, okay, fine, fear, you get to come. But you definitely do not get to drive. You have to sit in the back seat. I'm driving. You don't get to drive. You don't get to navigate. You definitely do not even get to touch the radio. You don't get to play the songs. You just have to sit there and shut up while I'm doing this thing and I'm driving. So fear, you're coming, but I'm driving. And I thought that was a beautiful, beautiful analogy. So if you want to use quantum law to beat that narcissist, the thing you have to do is start with your thoughts. Start like pinging into the universe. Remember, like attracts like. So what you ping out pings right back to you. It's like a boomerang. So if you want good things to start coming to you, you better start being very, very aware of the things that you're pinging out into the universe so that the right things start pinging back to you. And that's the way you're going to start the path of beating that narcissist.
So let's talk about how to have a powerful mindset against narcissists, because honestly, when you're negotiating with them or when you're dealing with them or managing them or trying to deal with any kind of difficult personalities, that's like the most difficult thing. I get a lot of correspondence from people, and some of the most satisfying correspondence that I get from people is when people are like, okay, I won my negotiation. I got the results that I wanted, but the most surprising thing that happened to me is that my fear disappeared. But that's actually the most important thing that happens, because you cannot get the results you want. You cannot manage difficult people or toxic personalities without that. And that's actually the thing that you have to lead with, because they smell blood in the water. And that's why they know that they can kind of target you and know that they can control you, because they look for people who are empaths. They look for people who are kind of the bleeding hearts, who have some sort of, wounds themselves, who have some sort of, really want to help people, who really feel like I can save you, I can help you. And to them, that doesn't mean, oh, I can help you, I can save you, to them, that means, ooh, sap. To them, that means, I can take advantage of you. You think, oh, they're going to appreciate me. They're going to, wow, this person saved me. They're going to love me for it. They're going to see all that I did for them. And that ain't going to happen. It's going to end up being a black hole. You're going to end up feeling used. You're going to end up feeling abused. It's going to end up being this cycle where you're going to give. They're going to take. And it's going to keep going. And here's like the really kind of thing that's also sort of ironic is, like, a lot of times people are like, I'm afraid to like become strong against the narcissist because I'm afraid of the backlash. I'm afraid of the things that they're going to do to me. I'm afraid of like what's going to happen because they're going to be worse. Well, yeah, they probably will be worse initially. because, you've conditioned them, they've conditioned you, you've kind of conditioned each other in a lot of ways. I mean, a lot of times you have a long history with each other, and you've both kind of created a conditioning of each other. I mean, you've both sort of taught each other what you will tolerate or how the relationship is going to go. And there's been some expectations that have been set on both sides as a result. And so creating a powerful mindset means you're also going to have to create some new boundaries, new goals, new way of thinking for yourself as well. So, all right. So number 5, I'm going to kind of work backwards with your secrets here. 5 secrets to having a powerful mindset against narcissists. So that's kind of like my preface to the whole thing here. But let's work backwards with our secrets. So number 5 is start expecting them to behave like narcissists. I know that sounds easy, but it's not all that easy sometimes. I mean, you can still end up in the trap of like, can you believe they did this? I can't believe they did that. Oh my gosh. I mean, I remember having this conversation with a client one time where she had this huge situation with her soon-to-be ex in the parking lot of the school. And it was like 8:00, 8:30, and she calls me at my office, and she was like, can you believe he did this right in front of the students, in front of the teachers? Everybody was there. And I remember saying to her, because she kept saying, can you believe he did? Can you believe? Can you believe? And I remember saying, yes, I can, especially after all you've told me about him. What I can't believe is that you can't believe it. She actually started laughing because she was like, good point, fair points. Like, yeah, because like, just, yeah, don't be surprised when they act like themselves, right? They just expect them. There they go. There they are acting like their narky selves. Don't be surprised when they just act like themselves. So that's secret number 5. So now we're going to go to secret number 4. Secret number 4 is to be super specific about what it is that you want. So having a powerful mindset means, what is it that you want? Do you want a certain outcome? Do you want a certain vision? What is the goal of, the negotiation that you want? Is it, a certain parenting plan? If it's a business negotiation, what is the outcome? Sometimes people forget that. It seems so simple, but people often forget. Is it, if you're trying to end a business relationship, even if it's not a negotiation, what would be your perfect outcome? Is it to just go your own separate ways? Do you want to keep the business? Do you want to sell it? Do you want to dissolve it? What is it that you want? Do you want to keep the clients? Do you not? Be super specific. Write it down. Maybe write it down and post it everywhere. What goals do you want for your life, for your business, for your career? Watch my interview with Bob Proctor, by the way, which is amazing. It not only, by the way, changed lives of many people who watched that interview, it changed my own life. It was like one of my favorite interviews that I've absolutely ever done. So definitely go check that out. So that's secret number 2. Be super specific. You are placing orders to the universe. By the way, you're placing orders to the universe even when you say things you don't necessarily want. So, a lot of people say, I don't have enough money. 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 And I wonder why the universe doesn't bring them more money. Come on, be careful with what you say. Your words are very powerful. So if you want more money, be careful about what you say. Okay. So that's secret number 4. Secret number 3 is stay laser focused and put your emotions into it. See yourself in your outcome. Feel it. Emotion plus motion equals your outcome. Like, really, really feel it. the movie The Secret, they were talking about like feeling yourself in the car, like you feel your hands on the steering wheel, you feel the hair, the wind in your hair, like really feel it. You have to really feel like what it's like, and like you can't just like write it down on a piece of paper. You got to really, really feel the emotion of what it is that you want, because that vibrational energy is super, super important. Okay, so if you're doing it, give me an I'm doing it in the comments right now. I'm doing it. I feel the power. I got the emotion. All right, number 2, watch your words. No weak language. No, I'm trying, I'm hoping, I might, maybe, I'm sorry. None of that. No weak language, people. No, I'm doing, I am. Yoda. We're Yoda here. Remember Yoda? Do or do not. There is no try. Yes. Love Yoda. All right. And secret number 1. Secret number 1. This is my own little secret. This is for me as well as for you. I got to do this myself too. Number 1 for myself is I don't leave my thoughts unsupervised. At least for me, my thoughts cannot be left unsupervised. I don't know about you, but I have to, like, if I'm, walking the dog or, doing things where my thoughts are left to their own devices, they don't usually go into the good neighborhoods. They usually end up in the bad neighborhoods. So I usually end up listening to podcasts, books, Audible books, things that will fill my head with the things that I want. So, control your input. That helps to control your output. So that's what I do. Don't leave your thoughts unsupervised. That is secret number 1 to having a super powerful mindset. Yeah, I love that. And I love that you talked about how, basically what you're saying was that you had to get out of a victim mentality.
Yes.
And it's such an easy thing to fall into sometimes if you've had trauma in your childhood, or you've been a victim of abusive relationships in some way. So can you expound upon that? Like, how to start shifting your mindset out of that victim mentality?
I certainly can. And let me tell you something you don't know, and your listeners will probably relate to, and the viewers. I am just finishing a 2.5 year divorce. And this divorce should have been over easily and effortlessly because what I offered was basically the world, because I was willing to walk away. But what happened instead is that the narcissistic other side decided to create a persecution of my life and business. And it has been the most excruciating, torturous, emotionally exhaustive, expensive, painful experience of my entire life, including when I was when I was homeless, and including when I was in poverty. This takes the
Yes.
cake.
Yes. And
Okay.
that's exactly what I teach people how to do, is get leverage over that personality type. So this is so interesting. I didn't even know this, by the
I
way.
know, and I didn't know of you. Otherwise, you would have been hired 2 years ago to help me clip the timeline on this. I'm only now finishing this up. So I'm bringing it up, first of all, to let people know I relate. I know what it's like to suffer. I know what it's like to be depressed. I know what it's like to be discouraged. I know what it's like to be financially strapped. I know what it's like to be pessimistic. And I know what it's like to feel like a victim. I keep telling people that life is really a process of awakening. And what we're being asked to do through all of these various challenges is to come up against our own barriers, our own perceptions, our own limiting beliefs, transcend them so we can create a life that is far more empowered and empowering than what we even had before. So, to help up with the people that might be going through this right now and to answer your question, early on when I entered this divorce, and believe me, I am green to this world. I am a newbie to this world. Like most people, you don't have any clue what the legal system is like. You don't know how the court system and the judges and the attorneys are manipulative and can make you feel like a victim. And I remember
And you
early
get
on asking
victimized again by all of those people because you've been victimized by the narcissist, but then you get re-victimized by the
right,
system.
right. Yeah, there's a whole lot of this that goes on that to me was surreal. Surreal for you being in the world. That was your playground, so to speak. But for me, that was the that was the gladiator arena where the lions and the tigers were unleashed to tear me to shreds. So one of the things I asked an attorney early on, I said, look, you do this night and day. This is not your life. This is my life. That's your livelihood. This is my life. What advice do you have to transcend this, to survive this? And one of the things he said that I've never forgotten, and he took a while to get to the point, but he thought about it, he reflected, and he said, focus on the future. Focus on the future. Being so caught up in the drama, the theatrics, the tragedy, the melodrama of a divorce keeps you stuck in the quicksand of the past. And what you're trying to do is resolve the past so you can move forward. By standing here in the moment and looking forward and going, okay, what do I want to create? Where do I want to live? How do I want to be? What do I want to do? And start doing the very manifestation stuff that I teach in my books that we taught in the movie The Secret, but somehow get lost when you go through this wind tunnel of a divorce. Because a divorce can shake you up to the extent that you really do feel like a victim, and you can momentarily forget that you still have power, that you still have choice.
Yeah. And I want to just say for people, like, regardless of whether it's a divorce from a spouse or a business partner, anybody who's been victimized by a narcissist in a close relationship like that, it's the same thing. And I was victimized by two narcissists myself, which is why I focus on this, one in a business partner setting and one in in an extended family member, not as a husband, but equally as painful. And I agree with you. Like, it's absolutely the worst thing. And I've been teaching negotiation skills for years. I was a keynote speaker at the American Bar Association. My book on negotiation, which came out in 2019, Robert Shapiro asked me to write the foreword. Like, I know negotiation, but when you come to deal with narcissists, it's a whole other world. And so, I'm going to just say this to you because I think it'll be really helpful for the listeners as well. The first thing that you said was, I was willing to walk away and whatever. That is exactly why you had an issue, because the problem is with narcissists is what drives them is something called narcissistic supply. And that's anything that feeds their ego. And being married to somebody like you, who's, got a level of fame and celebrity and all of that, that other person was getting supply from that. And so walking away, it's not the stuff that the person wanted. It's the supply that they get either from being associated with you. But if that's going away, then the next level down of supply is making you miserable and jerking you around and jerking you through the court system, because there's a level of control that is received over by doing that. And so the key to creating leverage and creating a strategy around that, and I just think it's really important for me to say this, is to cut off a form of supply that's going to, or threaten to cut off a form of supply that's going to be more important for that person to retain than the supply that they get from making you miserable and jerking you around. And that's the key. And that's how, if you had talked to me 2.5 years ago, I would have told you that, and it would have saved you a hell of a lot of heartache.
And it would have, because you are correct. Part of what I think people in a divorce could do, and of course they're all different, and everybody's different, but for me and what I saw is that I was playing the role of the nice guy. And I wanted this to be peaceful. And I thought, well, we can still separate and we can still be friends, and everything can be unicorns and flowers and ice cream and all those wonderful magical thinking fantasies.
Can never do that with a narcissist, ever.
And see, this is what I know now. And that's why I'm so glad that you're doing what you do for everybody else. I've had my learning experience with this, and I'm obviously still learning, and I'm going to write about this at some point. But you are absolutely correct. And I had actually been warned by a friend of mine who was in the self-help world as a great leader and guru, who had gone through his own divorce. And one of the first things he said was, don't be too nice. And it confused me when he first said it, because I was being nice. And I thought, well, what's wrong with nice?
I always say that the paradox is for the people who are out there that say, I don't want to fight. I just want this to be peaceful, because they don't think they need to create leverage. Because when you hear the word leverage, they think, well, no, that means you want me to fight. And I always say, no, if you want to get out of a relationship with a narcissist peacefully, you have to create leverage, or you won't be able to. And so it's kind of counterintuitive. But
you know what I ended up doing I had to reframe the whole divorce experience, because we were talking about victimhood, and victimhood is being when I was homeless, and also feeling like a victim as I entered the divorce, because I felt like I was a victim to attorneys, I was a victim to my ex, I was a victim to the judge, I was a victim to the court system. And feeling like a victim is a very low energy, low consciousness way of living your life. What you need to do is move up the ladder of consciousness, which is what I teach, but I was being thrown into a different environment where I had to learn how to do this.
The universe said, let's see if you really know this stuff.
Right. And in some ways, you are exactly right. It's like, oh, you think you know? Okay, we're going to throw you over here and see if you can walk on fire with the dragons and lions chasing you. But one of the things I did was reframe my experience. And instead of feeling like a victim, I called it my empowerment training. Now, I didn't say empowerment training to my ex. I didn't say empowerment training to the judge or to the attorneys. But in my own mind, it was like, oh, I'm being asked to do something I haven't done before. And what this is doing is calling forth a new strength in me and a new ability in me. And as I flexed those muscles, I became even more powerful and even more empowered to create a different life and go forward with this new future for myself. So one way that I was able to step out of feeling like a victim is to go, oh, this is my empowerment training. I signed up for it. I don't remember when I signed up for it, but I signed up for it. And now what I got to do is go through it, get stronger, which is what I've done.
But one of the things that I want to start with, because I think it always has to start here with any negotiation, with any business, with anything that you're doing. I always used to say 80% of a negotiation was a mindset, right? And then when I interviewed Bob Proctor, he corrected me and he said, no, 99%. And so now I say that, but I've listened to a lot of you over the last couple of days and getting prepared, and I know that you agree with that. And I want to start there. And how would you start with that? I mean, where would you go with that if you were advising somebody? What would you say?
Well, I'd say the key to everything is really how you see life. And if you understand life at a deeper, more connective level than anyone else, not manipulatively, but you have what you want, which is advantage. You have appreciation advantage, empathy advantage, critical thinking advantage, but you can't do it without really understanding the drivers of your mindset. The mindset is driven by beliefs. It's driven by, it's ideology, it's philosophy, it's values, it's ethos, it's your sense of equity and morality. And if you really don't know what, let me interrupt, because I'm a poster boy for adult ADD. So I believe if you can't answer these questions, you're stuck or relegated to a life of let's call it not mediocrity, but suboptimal life. You got to know, what do you stand for? Who do you stand for? Why do you stand for it? What does standing for it mean? And how is standing for it supposed to be expressed by you in all the interactions you have in your personal life, in your business, career, everything, love, romance, parenting, everything.
Yeah, you even have something else though, and this is where I want to drill deeper. You have this belief system that every human being was born with a desire to be great.
Yes.
But only 2 to 3% get to be great. Can you talk more about that?
Sure. I've done a lot of work on variations of that theme. And many years ago, I got really fixated because I saw all these people living a life of, the quiet desperation, mediocrity, underperforming, unhappy, suboptimal. And I thought, nobody can possibly want to be basically mediocre. They can't. Then I started thinking, nobody really does, but they don't know how. And I thought, everybody is brought into this world, other than people maybe with a birth defect, mental impairment, something wrong, with the desire to be great at everything. A great athlete, a great friend, a great, employee, business entrepreneur, lover, husband, parent. And yet most people don't even come close. And I thought, why could that be? And then I started searching for clarified, simplified, very, very bottom line, no nonsense, lowest common denominator answers. And I got them. So I felt there were 3 or 4 reasons, and I'll share them real quick because they will help everybody. The first is they don't understand that. I'll give you an integration. I think every human being is the equivalent of a human hedge fund. If you know what a hedge fund is, a hedge fund, for people that don't, it's an investment vehicle that has a portfolio of investment classes that they basically assemble with their capital for the purpose of outperforming the market. And they're trying to outperform the market and hit what they call alpha. Alpha is performance well above, and they're trying to do it asymmetric, meaning much more upside, much more lower, much smaller lower downside. And I think a life is that way. And I'm going to tie this to greatness, because in our life is basically a hedge fund of sorts, and it's made up of lots of different components. How we use our time, our happiness, our energy, our purpose, our financial accomplishments, all these things. But I don't think anybody starts by identifying and then questioning, how much am I allocating to this part of my portfolio? What kind of risk am I taking? What kind of yield am I getting? They might have one part of their life that's invested 40%, and yet the risk is enormously high and the yield is enormously low. And another part of their life may be inordinately underinvested, only 10%, and the risk is very low and the yield is so high, but it's out of sync. And if they're trying to get alpha in any of these or all these, they don't even know what alpha looks like. And now take that to greatness. So it's an overlay. So I don't think anyone wants to be anything but great, but they don't have a clue all the areas of a life where greatness can exist. Greatness in their career, greatness in their business, greatness in their relationships, greatness in their financial, maybe not wealth, but security, greatness in the joy and the fulfillment they get out of being alive, out of interacting, greatness in learning, discovery, growth, development, greatness in interacting. So the first thing you have to do is identify the most important categories in your life that you could and should consider becoming great at. And then most people never even come close because they don't know what greatness is supposed to look like, feel like, express like, be validated like in any of these categories. So you need to find some referential examples in your life or in observation that demonstrate that kind of greatness in that kind of an area of your life. And you have to understand, well, what are they doing? What are they saying? How are they doing it? What can I observe? What can I learn? Can I ask them what's driving them? What was their stimulus? What are they thinking about? What are they doing? Can I chronicle it? And once you get a clarity of what it's supposed to look like, then you got to evaluate where you want it to be in that category versus where you are. And there's normally a big gap. And if you take the time to go through every one of these categories, you're going to find gaps that are going to vary in different ones. And then you got to decide what I call the log jam. There's going to usually be one of them that's going to be more critical for everything than the others. And if your personal life is a mess, your business life can't possibly be good. It just can't. So you got to figure which one you got to pull the log out of so everything else will flow. And once you do that, what the next and the next is. So now you know what it's supposed to look like. You know where you are in the gap area. So now you got to figure out what is the strategy, the path, the safest, most result certain way I can get using from where you are to where you want to be in that category. And if you don't have optionality, if you don't have an idea of what the options are available, you will usually choose the hardest and the most low success probable. You'll try to do it all in one fell swoop, like somebody trying to become an Olympic pole vaulter overnight, and you'll fail miserable. So you want to actually find the safest. I'm thinking of switchbacks and how you go up a mountain. So now you figure out, first of all, what the categories of greatness you want to really excel at. Then you figure out what greatness is supposed to look like in all those categories based on you studying other people who manifest those kind of greatness ideals, conduct, natural order of being. Then you've got to decide what it takes to get, or where you are in the gap, then which one of these gaps is the most critical one to attend to first, second, third, etc. Then you know the gap, you know what it's supposed to look like. You figure out what's the greatest path to get there safely, rapidly, but safely is more important, because every day if you're making progress, the compound effect is quite profound, particularly if you're working on 8 or so areas of your being, of your life. But finally, the key to it is it's very similar. You talk about your 4 children. I have 7 children. If you think about it, most people either have a child, know people that have a child, a little kid trying to learn how to walk, talk, poop, eat, ride a bike. They're terrible when they first do it. They fall over, they miss the toilet, they miss their mouth, they literally babble and make no sense. They need someone to believe in them. They need an advocate, a champion who is unrelenting in their support of them. And that can be a significant other, that can be a mentor, that can be a coach, that can be a good friend. But you need someone to hold you to the standards that you were brought into this earth to embrace and to live up to. I don't know if that helps, but that's sort of a summary.
So I want to how do you shift your mindset to become that massive success? How do you become, I mean, I've listened to other podcasts where you talked about how you could tell anybody how to make $500,000 or more, like that you could teach somebody how to do that. How do you say that to somebody who feels like, but I'm stuck in this place. I can't do that. What would you say to that person?
I would say to them, that's the reason you can't, because number one, it boils down to 3 things: mindset, skill set, and habits. So right now you're displaying that you have a mindset issue. I can't, boo-hoo, but that's a mindset issue. So now I got to build a little confidence in you and show you that you can. And dude, it's not very difficult. If you can talk to some people for a little bit of time, you can get them to understand that, you know what, they're a little bit more valuable than they think they are. So we fix your mindset. Then we start to teach you sales, closing, and persuasion to give you the skill sets necessary to succeed. And right now, communications, the ability to sell, close, and persuade, marketing, like there's certain skill sets that if anyone possesses, it's impossible for them not to make $500,000. So we work on your skill sets. And then coincidentally, as of lately, you said I built a company. I've actually got now, numerous companies. And I started those companies because I was teaching people how to sell, close, persuade, get confident. And then they'd need a job. They'd need something to sell. Now that you've taught me to sell, what do I sell? So I said, well, listen, I'll even start the company that you can go work for and sell. So now it's like, dude, if you ain't making $300,000 to $500,000 a year, come to me. I'll fix your mindset. I'll give you the skill set, and I'll give you the job. And then the third one is your habits. I'll teach you the habits of the ultra successful. We've all got habits. What are the habits of the ultra successful? Because if you emulate their habits, more than likely you'll emulate their results. Habits are what you constantly do over and over and over again. If you look at somebody that's unhealthy, you look at their habits, they have unhealthy habits. If you look at somebody broke, look at their habits. They've got unhealthy habits. They've got poor mindset. They're thinking in limitations. They're worried about losing money they don't have. You talk to someone who's broke, they only have a couple $1,000s in the bank, and they're holding on to that couple $1,000s like it's going to save their life. When in reality, holding on to it's what's keeping them broke. Like, use that money. Money is a tool to be used, but broke mindsets, they think that's their survival, when it isn't. Their survival is using it to get more of it. So what happens is people start companies, they start to get a little success, right? They hit the 7-figure mark, and then they are literally scared now of losing it. They remember what it was like to be broke. They remember what it was like to struggle. And by all means, they will never do that again, even if it means staying small. As long as it's comfortable, I'm good. Well, again, they made a decision to stay small, because if you look at what happened, they started out with an abundant mindset. Anything's possible. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I've made a decision. I'm going to succeed. Boom. They start to succeed. Now their mindset starts to shift back to scarcity and limited, because now they're scared of loss. And when you're scared of losing, that's limitations. That's scarcity. I'm not afraid of being broke, because I know there's millions and billions of dollars out there, and I know that I can earn it any day of the week. I'm not afraid of going broke. Why? Because I was already broke. I might be broke again. Who cares? I'll still get paid again. I'm always going to be in an abundant mindset, because I realize there is an abundance out there. Money is not limited. Only the people willing to get it are. Like, I'm willing to go get paid. If I lost everything because I made a mistake, it doesn't mean that I can't do it again. It just means that I made a mistake to learn from, and now I'll do it again. And, yes, it's a pain in the butt, but everything is a pain in the butt. I tell people all the time, Rebecca, it is a bitch being broke, and it's a bitch to get rich. So pick your bitch. Because at the end of the day, dude, it's going to be hard either way. Why would you allow it to be hard and then end up broke? Why not make it hard and end up rich? Because yes, being rich is difficult, but so is being broke. So what are you trying to do? Think, man. It's a choice. That's why I keep saying, like you're preaching to the choir. It boils down to a choice. People can choose to be rich. I teach a technique to people all the time that blows their mind because it's so effective. They don't understand how it works. Take a piece of paper, write down everything on that piece of paper that you do not want in your life. You are sick of it. You don't want it anymore. And then simply stop tolerating everything on that list. Do not tolerate any of it. And I guarantee you every single one of them will go away. The reason you're getting what you're getting is because you're tolerating it. You're tolerating your bad marriage. You're tolerating your low income. You're tolerating your overweightness. You're tolerating people treating you like shit. You're tolerating everything that you're getting, and that's why you're getting it. Stop tolerating it and you'll stop getting it. I'm telling you, it's that easy. Just write it down and watch. Now, not tolerating it is difficult. Yes, it is. I didn't say it's easy. It's simple. It's not necessarily easy to start losing weight, to start working out, to start being consistent, to start getting through the uncomfortable, phase of doing the right thing. But everybody knows the right thing. People pay me money to talk to me for an hour. And my first opening line every time is, so what was so important? You gave me $6,000 for an hour of my time on a Zoom call to pick my brain. What's so important? And they start to tell me things, and it always boils back down to the basic things. How's your mindset? How's your skill set? How's your habits? And we always zero in on them. Well, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, and this is what I wish, and this is what I want, and this is why I can't have it. And that's your mindset, son. You're negative, you're limited, you're scarce, you're scared, you're depressed. All those are negative. We need to fix those, and you'll be fine. And
so what's the first thing you would tell somebody about how to fix their mindset?
Well, I mean, again, it takes a little bit of work. You have to go ultimately, recreate a relationship with yourself. You have to go find worth in you. A lot of people want to raise their net worth, but in order to do that, you have to raise your self-worth. And if you raise your self-worth, which is much easier, your net worth comes with it. See what I'm saying?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So right now, if someone called and offered me a job for $20 an hour, I'd say, no, thank you.
Of course.
I appreciate the offer, but I'm worth more than $20 an hour. Some people don't believe they're worth more than $20 an hour because right now they're getting $9 an hour and somebody's convinced them that $20 an hour is a good wage. And I'm here to tell you, they're lying to you. $20 an hour is not going to get you very far. Okay. $200 an hour. You could offer me $200 an hour and I'd say no to your employment. Because it's not enough. It's not enough. I'm worth more than that. I solve bigger problems than that. Okay. So again.
So for people that are listening, what's something that they could do every day right now to start fixing their mindset?
Well, again, it's not something you do overnight, but the first thing I would do again is fix their value systems, their worth. So the first thing I'd do is, just like if I were trying to repair any relationship, I would forgive myself for all the nonsense. I'd wipe the slate clean and literally forgive myself for anything I've done in the past, any mistake I've ever made. I'm going to forgive myself, period. Now I have a clean slate. I'm brand new again. I'm reborn, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to commit to do what I say I'm going to do. I'm going to realize that it's massively important to do what I say I'm going to do. So I'll be very careful with what I agree to. I won't say yes so easily anymore. I won't commit so easily anymore. Why? Because I do what I say I'm going to do. And the only way that I'm going to freaking commit is if I agree to do it. So again, you commit to do what you say you're going to do. Then number 3, you start racking up the wins, because confidence is really just the memory of winning. Mm-hmm. So if you win a lot, right, you're going to get more confident doing whatever it is you're doing. Mm-hmm. So I, believe it or not, create wins to happen all day, every day. So all day long, I'm winning. I'm winning when I wake up. I'm winning, based on what I eat. I'm winning when I take a drink of water. Mm-hmm. I'm winning all damn day, Rebecca. And when you win all day long and you're conscious of winning, you win at everything. You're winning all day long. You start to, believe it or not, feel like a winner.
It's such great advice. So,
Hey, you want the rest of them real quick?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So you start to feel like a winner. You rack up those wins. And then what happens, you start sitting a little taller and your chin gets a little higher and you start to actually feel like you deserve more. But anytime you think and act like you deserve more, there's going to be people telling you that you're out of your mind. Why do you think you deserve all this? Who are you to demand such things? Why are you being entitled? When in reality, you're not entitled. You just think you deserve more. And by the way, I think I deserve more than I'm getting. I do. You need to also. Why do you deserve more? I'll tell you a million reasons why I deserve more. See, there's the confidence. There's the self-value that you need. So again, you get it by racking up the wins on a regular basis. Every day you need to be winning. And here's the cool part. You get to decide what a win is. I say taking a drink of water as opposed to a soda is a win. So when I drink water, Boom. Mentally, I'm like, dude, I'm a winner. When I go work out, I'm a winner. When I make one extra phone call, I'm a winner. When I close a deal, I'm a winner. When I lose a deal and realize that I learned why I lost the deal, I'm up. That's a win. So I'm winning constantly and intentionally all day long, which makes me feel like a winner. Then people start telling me that I'm not. Well, that's step 4. You have to get rid of all the negativity. You have to protect what goes in these 2 ears, including what you put in there, because what you put in there grows. So if you allow crap to go in, crap's going to grow. You plant corn, up comes corn. You plant wheat, up comes wheat. This is your garden. You allow all this crap into your head, and now you wonder why your head's full of crap. So stop allowing this negativity. Stop reading the headlines. Stop listening to the hate. Stop doing it to yourself, which is the biggest problem. Most people's self-talk is terrible. So you stop all the negativity. Again, easier said than done, but that's what you do. You stop the negativity. And then you map out and visualize with specificity, just like you said, exactly where you want to go in life, exactly what success looks like. And then you simply ask yourself a question every day, because it boils down to choices. Every day, once you know exactly where you're going, every decision you make, you simply say, does this move me towards that or away from that? Because every decision you make is going to move you towards that or away from that. So that's your compass now. Now you have a compass every single day. Does it move me towards or away, towards or away? And you'll soon realize all the decisions you used to make were stupid, mindless, as opposed to does it move me towards or away? And you start to realize, and not all of them, because sometimes we instinctively know we're doing wrong, but you start to be conscious and you start to make better choices. And then you make better choices, and what happens? You start to get better payoff. And now you start earning more and being more and having better relationships, and all the things you're doing are now starting to literally come to fruition. And then I ask for one other thing. Seek new information on a regular basis, because the reason you're getting what you're getting is because you're doing what you're doing. So if you want to change what you're doing, a lot of people can temporarily change it, but to permanently change what you're doing, you need to change your beliefs. Because the belief system is why you do what you do. So in order to change what you do permanently, you got to change what you believe. And the only way to change what you believe is to get new information. If you don't get any new information, it is impossible to change your beliefs. It's impossible. Think about it. The only way to change your beliefs is to get new information. Like if you tell a kid when he's growing up that fire doesn't burn you, fire's not hot, the kid might believe you until they stick their hand in the fire. And as soon as they do, they get new information, don't they? And that new information stops them from believing you anymore. Even though you're their parent and they love you, they're not believing you. Why? Because this new information just taught me differently. So new information is what allows you to change your beliefs, and you must change your beliefs to change your behaviors. And you must change your behavior to change your results. So it's common sense if you think about it. So just make sure that every single day you're seeking new information to become brighter, to become more intelligent. And ultimately, it causes you to think. And when we think, believe it or not, magic happens. So we need to think more. We need to think more of ourselves. We need to think more of possibility. We need to be hopeful. We need to be abundant. And that's what causes it. So those are the 6. I call them the sacred 6, because that will literally cause anybody to become a lot more confident and to develop value for themselves. And again, it's terrible out there that a lot of people don't understand they're in the trap they're in because they don't think they deserve any more. They don't think they deserve any better.
Such gold right there. Absolute gold. That's the gold that I wanted right there. Because what he just explained is how you can literally reprogram your brain. Your brain is just a CPU that was programmed, but without you even knowing it. It just, you were at the effect of your growing up, of your trauma, of all the stuff that happened to you without you even realizing it. What you guys don't even see is that it just happened. But it can be reprogrammed. 100%. You have a choice. And your brain is not wired for success. It was wired for survival. But you have a choice to rewire it. It literally can be rewired. And you can become somebody else at your decision. You can just decide to do that. And that's what he's talking about. And then understanding that you can choose an abundance mentality and not be in scarcity mode, because the root of the word scarcity is the same as scared, being in that fear mentality.
Let me give you a hack. Pro tip. Because we're wired to survive, you just said it, we're wired to survive, not to succeed. But in reality, if you attach survival to success, your brain will be pre-wired to succeed. You just have to tie survival to success. And I've done that ever since I was little. I must be successful. I have to be successful. If I'm not successful, I'm going to die. There is no other choice in the matter. If I don't succeed, I'll die. And if you really believe that, I promise you, you'll be wired to succeed, because you are correct. Your brain is wired to survive. You just have to attach survival to success. If you don't succeed, you're going to die. Just convince yourself of that. And I guarantee you success, because you're right. Your brain is wired to survive, but you don't connect survival and success. You connect survival with living and breathing. You connect survival with, evading a scary situation, risk, right? Dude, risk is opportunity. Everybody's running from risk, when in reality, that's where the opportunity is.
Right.
Why are you so afraid? You're so afraid of going to nothing when you're nothing now. You're afraid of being what you are now? That makes no sense to me. You already are nothing. You want to be something. So you have to literally risk your current life to get your new one.
And I think the difference also is between, most people just think, I can't do it. And a really successful person will say, now, how can I? They just ask how. There's a way. You just figure out a way, right? They ask the how. And so I think that this is really, really important to listen to what he's saying, visualize, be really, really specific, and then just decide that you're going to do it, and get out of the victim mentality, get out of the, I can't do it. Because, what I always say is, do you want to be right about that? Or do you want the life that you want? Because you can be right about that. You can be right about I can't have it. They always get what they want. Life isn't fair. Or you can have it be different.
Wish you had a bomb button. I'd be dropping it. Because again, it's all excuses. If someone's getting offended by what I'm saying, they just said I was nothing. Who does he think he is? Listen, I'm not talking about you specifically. I'm trying to, I'm talking about me when I'm talking, because this is what I was doing. I don't come out on stages when I do keynotes and pretend that I'm better than everybody in the audience. Sometimes I do know that I'm ahead of everybody in the audience. So again, it's like, don't think people are better than you. Just recognize they're ahead of you. And if they're ahead of you and you want to be where they are, well, then why don't you stop assuming and hating and listening to the masses? Because again, the masses aren't wealthy. The masses aren't rich. The masses aren't successful. We know that. That's why they're called the 1%. Most people aren't successful, supposedly. So quit listening to everybody. Isn't that common sense? If everybody's not successful, why would you listen to everybody? Well, everybody says this and everybody says that. Quit listening to everybody. Listen to the people you want to be like. Listen to the people you want to emulate. If you want to get anything you want in life, it's very simple. First thing, you got to figure out what it is that you want, and that's the hardest part. Most people think that's the easy part, but that's the hard part, knowing what you want. Think about it, man. Spend some time and really think about it. And then once you realize or choose what it is that you want, the second part, which is find out how to get it, that's the easy part. All you do is find someone that's already done it, that's already got it. They already possess what it is you want. And by the way, there's a bunch of them out there. Someone goes, well, no one's ever done anything that I want to do. Well, I can't teach you how to be, world changing, record breaking, because I'm not a world changing, record breaking dude. I'm just showing you how to be successful financially and get a pretty, I would say, I like my life. In other words, Like people always ask, Brad, you work a lot, you don't go on vacations. Number one, I don't need to go on a vacation. Like my life is a vacation to me. So you figure out who's already done it, and then you do what they did. You emulate what they did, because like action causes like result. That's a scientific fact. So
Yeah.
it's pretty much an easy thing to do. You figure out what you want, then you find someone who's got it, and then you do what they did. Simple. Now, when someone says I can't, you were saying, that's a mindset issue. When somebody says I don't know how, that's a skill set issue. When somebody says I don't do it, that's a habits. So I'm telling you folks, if you're listening to this and you want to narrow it down to the simplest form, mindset, skill set, habits. You either have a mindset issue because you don't believe it's possible, you're scarce, you're limited, you got to change that. It's possible. No, I don't think it's possible. That's your problem. Okay, it is possible. So that's your mindset. Don't worry about the rest of them until your mindset's in the right place. If your mindset's in the right place, now look at your skill set. Are you any good at anything? Tell the truth, man. Are you good at something? Because the answer may be no, I'm not very good at anything. Get good at something. Well, what should I get good at? Anything you enjoy, preferably, doesn't have to be, but preferably get good. How do you get good? Doing something over and over, studying it, being obsessed by it, practice, drill, rehearse. You can get good at anything. So you get good at something. Those are your skill sets. If your skill sets are on point and your mindset's on point, but you're not actually doing anything consistently, your habits are out of whack, you probably won't be successful. But if you got your mindset right, and you got your skill sets right, and you got your habits right, dude, nobody's stopping you from anything you want to achieve. Nobody. If you got those three things in check, dude, you're going to plow through any obstacles and any challenges. And you'll actually be happy you're getting challenges, because challenges, if you really think about it, are what strengthen us. So when people pray that there's no challenges and there's no opposition, they're just naive, because what they're praying for is to stay weak and small. You want challenges and opposition. You want adversity. It strengthens you. It brings you where you're going. I always say, listen, I may be wrong. We'll know when we die. But I always say God literally weeds out the undeserving with difficulty. So it's like, oh, you want something? Here, let me throw a little difficulty your way. If that stops you, you don't deserve what it is you wanted. And once you realize that, difficulty is now a test. Difficulty is now a ticket to the movie. So now when it's difficult, what do you start thinking in your mind? If you're looking at it like that, you're excited. You're excited to have a little difficulty. Why? I'm being strengthened. I'm being tested. This is the ticket to get in. This is the chance I've been waiting for. If everything's easy in your life, well, then you're probably not being tested, and you're probably not going anywhere either. So just remember that. Anytime you guys have adversity, smile in the face of adversity. And by the way, if you read the Bible ever, it says in the Bible, like more often than anything else, I believe, is do not fear. Don't be afraid. Why is everybody so damn afraid?
I love that. I love that. Do you read the Bible every day, or is that something you do?
No, I read it cover to cover a couple times back in the day. Now, I don't.
All right. So what is something that you do every day without fail?
Wake up with gratitude.
Yeah. Me too.
Like this is another hack, Rebecca. I call it the $1 million morning, because I use $1 million to make the point. I tell people, hey, what if I just gave you $1 million? Like seriously, even to successful people, Rebecca, you're very successful. But if I seriously said, hey, Rebecca, I love this interview, I want to give you $1 million cash. How would that make you feel? Like, just think in your mind, like, dude, you get a little bit excited, you get a little giddy. If you have millions and millions, it's not as impactful. But if you're an average person, you get $1 million, you think your whole life changed. You are so grateful. You're relieved. You're happy. Nobody can just come around with these stupid little problems anymore and bother you. Why? Because, dude, your freaking life's changed. So everyone would agree, $1 million given to you is massive. You're like, oh my God, I'd be so grateful and thankful, and I wouldn't be complaining, and I'd just be so happy. Well, you wouldn't take $1 million over waking up in the morning. So literally, you value waking up more than you do $1 million, because you wouldn't exchange it, would you? If I said, I'll give you $1 million, I'll give you 10 million, Rebecca, but today's your last day. Would you do it?
No.
Okay, so what you're agreeing to and recognizing is that waking up tomorrow morning is worth more to you than $10 million cash.
Right. Of course.
Then why aren't you acting like it?
Yeah, I actually.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the listener. The listener listening to this, why aren't you acting like it? We don't act as grateful for waking up. Why? Because we're taking it for granted. So when you say, what do I do every day without fail, is I am grateful for another opportunity. I am filled with gratitude the second my eyes open. Every day.
Yeah.
Because one day they won't.
Yes. Amen to that. And so I definitely, I think that's a great place for us to start to wrap up here, because I absolutely, every morning, I actually write down 5 things that I'm grateful for every morning. I got that from Bob Proctor when I interviewed him, who was absolutely one of the best interviews I ever did. I actually got off the interview and he coached me for an hour after, and he told me I should be charging $10,000 for an hour. He's like, nobody else on the planet is doing what you're doing. He was one of the most generous people on the planet, Bob Proctor. I absolutely loved him. But one of the things that he told me to do was write down 5 things that I'm grateful for every single morning. And ever since that interview, I have been doing that because of him. He was really one of the most impactful interviews that I ever did. And so I do have to say that is something that I do still highly recommend to everybody to do first thing in the morning, is be grateful.
Oh, we can't argue with that. If you wake up with gratitude, it shifts your perspective and puts everything in a place of opportunity. Because when you wake up and realize that you're just incredibly lucky to get another day, well, now you get to wake up, you get to go to the gym, you get to pick up the kids, you get to go to work. Everything now becomes an opportunity rather than a problem.
Yeah.
Before I started doing that, I woke up to problems every single day. There's people right now going, dude, that's me. I'm waking up to problems every day. That's because you're not basing everything in gratitude. As soon as you're grateful, you cannot be pissed off. You cannot be upset. You cannot be sad. There's no negative emotions connected to gratitude. So if you literally base everything in gratitude, the second you wake up, it shifts your perspective, and now everything becomes opportunity. And that literally lends itself to that abundance mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.